Hi, I'm Edwin. I do insights at Pinterest. Now that we've talked about the audience, it's not just about that audience, but are we changing hearts and minds? Are the products that we're putting in front of our partners, be it the Bible pin, cinematic, or promoted pin, are they doing something when it comes to driving awareness? Is it helping them get to parity when it comes to their competition? And more important, is it driving brand favorability and purchase intent? For one brand in particular, a beauty brand, their goal was to get on Pinterest and drive new product adoption, and they were trying to get a little bit more trendy or cutting edge, as you will. And what we found is that we were able to drive brand awareness by up to 35%. In fact, this pin was so impressive that it was the #1 pin across our CPG norms, and about 40% of the impressions that were served came by way of a repin, meaning that it was consumer endorsed. Our pinners loved it. And most important, we were able to move metrics around being cutting edge by up to 25%. Now, I've done this job for quite some time, and what I've noticed is that when brands take a chance on new platforms, they also adopt some of those things. And so it's really good to see that that's actually happening for this beauty brand. But it's not just about changing the hearts, it's about changing action. Did brand favorability as well as purchase intent go up? For this other specific brand, which is a CPG brand, they were trying to drive favorability and purchase intent among a very small subset of 25 to 54-year-old women. And what we actually saw was that they were able to drive purchase intent by roughly 53% and brand favorability by 13%. Now, it might seem small to you, but it's pretty impressive when you see that brand favorability was upwards in the 70 percentile to begin with, and purchase intent was over 50%. Really showing that we're moving the needle for these brands when it comes to these metrics. Now, what does that engagement that we talk about even mean? Do you actually get more with Pinterest when it comes to the engagement on our platform? Well, when I think about engagement, one of the things that I get asked often is, well, how do you define it? And to that, we look to the IAB. A couple of years ago, the IAB wrote one of the most comprehensive white papers, and a number of my friends in the research industry, they were part of that consortium. And what they told us is that engagement is really a spectrum of advertising activity that drives us emotionally, cognitively, and physically, with the net end goal of driving an advertiser to get to a better place as a brand. There's a dichotomy that ultimately exists. The push is where the advertiser wants to place that medium, and the pull is whether the consumer is willing to connect with that content. And what we did at Pinterest is we wanted to look at our engagement and whether there was a connection to conversions. So what did we actually do? What we looked at is we looked at over 60 specific businesses. And with our conversion pixel, we were able to track roughly 25 million conversions. As a result, we were looking at the engagement that truly matters, which I'm going to explain in a little bit. What is the engagement on Pinterest anyway? And ultimately, did it drive their business forward via a sign-up, or they bought something? The spectrum of engagement on Pinterest is full, and there are many parts to it. The close-up, as we see, is a self-initiated close-up of a pin where we can see the picture in much larger view and actually read the description. The repin is an endorsement because you want to save what you've just seen and put it on a board that you've labeled. The like is a light touch. This is a great thing that I'm just going to quickly like. The click-through, in this case, the Land's End page, is the fact that you actually want to visit that site. That's really the great spectrum of engagement. And then on the right side is the conversion metrics. Do I check out, or do I sign up for a newsletter because I want to keep hearing from the brand that I'm thinking about and researching? What we actually found is that there's this really interesting framework when it comes to engagement. I work very closely with brilliant researchers at Pinterest, and this was developed from a friend of mine named Larkin Brown, who's at Pinterest. And when you think about engagement, it really follows what the IAB found. It's emotive, it's cognitive, it really changes us physically. So a good example is the like. It comes down to this whole notion of affirmation. For example, my friend Sharnaz, she might like to crochet, she might like to travel, and I don't, but I want to affirm all the things that she's doing, so I might click on like. But when she pins something for her boyfriend, like a great tie or an awesome jacket, I'm going to repin that as well because it's something that I really am interested in. So it creates this curiosity and intent, that cognitive development that I was talking about. Then it comes down to the close-up and the click-through. At the end of the day, did I physically act and convert? When you take a look at all of these engagement metrics and you look at what ultimately happens for, say, the sign-in, or the sign-up, I should say, you can see that there's this really wonderful stair-step effect, that a close-up to a repin to a click-through actually drives your propensity to want to sign up as a conversion activity. In fact, you're 4.5 times more likely to sign up if you've clicked through. When it comes to an actual purchase, again, and you compare that to view only, when you actually engage, you see that there is that stair-step effect again. Not so much so because click-through actually sees the greatest return when it comes to an actual purchase. Now, when you see a slide like this, you might say, wow, should I really just think about the click-through? Is that the most important metric out there? Well, I'd like you to consider this. If you take a look at all of the conversions that happened as a result of an engagement activity, what you'll find is that our pinners are more likely to close up or even repin versus a click-through, which starts to indicate that pinners are significantly more likely to engage with a pin in a very different way than just clicking through, really showcasing the fact that when it comes down to it, no matter what your goals are, this notion of engagement via a close-up and a repin, they truly matter when it comes to attribution. Ultimately, on Pinterest, it's all about discovering, saving, and doing. And it's helping brands with this interconnected process of driving awareness, creating intent, and ultimately creating action for them. Thank you very much for spending time with me. I appreciate it.